Jamblers, I'm noticing a trend on the Gambling X lately. Frustration from Twitter police over the phrase plus EV betting coming to symbolize only top-down betting. Now I get it. People are annoying. But have you ever wondered to yourself, what is the Twitter police so worked up about? What is this easy hack into the sports books that requires no effort and makes the smart people frustrated that we can all pretend to be sharp gamblers now? It's OddShopper. You can be a sharp bettor and pretend to be as good at gambling as true originators just by signing up, logging in, and getting going. Need help? Check out the show notes for a link to sign up through Good Juju Bets, then shoot us a note once you're in. We're happy to get you set up for making money and tricking people into thinking you're as sharp as the sharps.
We can't lose. No, we can't lose.
Enjoy it while it lasts. Gambling gods, fickle bunch.
Oh, yeah.
So easily
We
affected.
have a shooter and a good one coming out for a new point. Get your bets down, ladies and gentlemen. He's a rolling point is 9, place 9. 9 a winner. Got a hot hand. Place your bets, ladies and gentlemen.
They bet on absolutely anything. Don't make them prove it.
Belichick bet. I mean, I'm looking like an absolute genius.
You're tuned in to Gambling with Good Juju.
Welcome in, everybody, to Gambling with Good Juju. This week on the show, the Good Juju has been shaken. There were no tears. I tried to look for them in Kurt's eyes after the game. Heartbreaking, gut-wrenching, and the most awful way to lose, all playing out just as the dumb jock said it would. Mahomes late, man. All right, if you haven't already, please give a subscribe, follow, whatever that button is on your favorite podcast platform that lets them know you appreciate our content. Also, give us a follow on your favorite social media platform at Good Juju Bets. I revamped my weekly video. It's better now. I still need to work harder. Great work, Juice. Keep it up.
Appreciate the positive affirmations.
We're talking with George Panagakis this week. He's the king of the notepad and is creating quite the following on Twitter via his video updates. He's going to share with us the secret to his sauce and better understand what we can learn from him. You can find him at GRP Wins on X. Check him out for all his gambling content. But first, we're going to let Kurt vent about his 49ers, recap all things Super Bowl, and I've updated the college coaches who can't win it all sheet. Let's ride. Kurt, the floor is all yours, bud. Pour your heart out into this mic.
Thank you very much, Peter. So Niners Super Bowl, let's recap this thing. Obviously, it was a disappointing and heartbreaking loss, and it was a great game. Absolutely phenomenal Super Bowl. So many lead changes, so many things happened in that game. Obviously, waking up Monday morning, super hungover, and extremely depressing. But I've been down this road before, and the Niners have already lost 2 Super Bowls that I've witnessed and 4 NFC Championship games. So this is nothing new to me. I'm pretty much over it, and I'm ready for the draft, and I'm ready to look forward to the future.
So you're not in the fire, Kyle Shanahan.
I am not in the fire Kyle Shanahan. The national media seems to think that they should fire Kyle Shanahan. Most Niner fans think they should fire Kyle Shanahan. I'm not going there. The guy is barely older than we are. He's been to 2 Super Bowls and 4 NFC Championship games.
Right.
And
Track
he's
record.
won a lot of playoff games. So the way I see it, there's 29, 30 NFL teams that would love to have Kyle Shanahan as a head coach.
Yes.
And I hope he's a Niners head coach till he's 65 or until he decides to retire.
Yeah.
Speaking of the game, so one of the things that I really loved about this game was Purdy. Purdy was phenomenal in this game. And I watched the film, and when you probably watched it live, there were a lot of incompletions, a lot of misplays. A lot of those were plays that Purdy could not have done anything with.
Right.
It was drop balls by receivers, poor routes run by receivers, and the offensive line got absolutely destroyed by Chris Jones. But Purdy made some sweet throws, made some awesome plays on the run, and especially that throw to Juszczyk. He made an awesome throw to Chris Conley.
Yeah.
He threw some dimes, and I just left watching that game completely impressed by him, and I'm very excited to see what he's going to do in the future, because the whole narrative around this week was, is Brock Purdy going to throw 2 interceptions? Is he going to lose the game for him?
Yeah.
Right?
I kind of feel like if for no other reason, you should be optimistic about your quarterback.
Yeah.
And what a blessing to have the last pick in the draft be a Super Bowl quarterback.
Yeah. So here's the thing. In the second half of that game, he gave the Niners the lead 3 times in the second half.
What is that? Wow.
3 times in the second half. They're up in the fourth quarter, or at the end of the third quarter when he threw the touchdown, the field goal in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
With 2 minutes left, and then the field
overtime.
in overtime, the field goal.
Wow.
So he led 3 potential game-winning drives
in the Super Bowl.
Against
the Kansas City Chiefs.
Against the Chiefs.
Yeah.
So I've got nothing but hopes and high praises for Purdy. He balled out. So now this is where I'm going on my rant here, because I am sick and tired of the Kansas City Chiefs being one of the luckiest freaking teams the NFL has ever seen. And I did a little bit of research on this, and I found an NFL data site that configures luck plays into win probability. So this year, the Kansas City Chiefs were the luckiest playoff team since 2018, with a 78.4 win percentage probability added on luck plays. Now, luck plays can be anything from a missed field goal to a fumble recovery to a drop pass to any kind of fluke thing that happens during a game, right?
Pat Mahomes sidearming it backwards.
Yeah. Tipped interception.
Okay.
So the 49ers this year were minus 22.7% win probability. They had absolutely nothing go their way in these playoffs.
That's a discrepancy. Okay.
So I don't know if you guys noticed this, but there were 7 fumbles in that Super Bowl.
What?
I did.
You did?
I picked first turnover to be interception, and I definitely noticed the first fumble.
7 fumbles in that game. The Chiefs recovered 6 of them.
Oh my gosh.
That is unbelievable.
Wow.
Right? Like how 7 fumbles in the game and the Chiefs get 6 of them. Talk about having a lucky bounce, right?
Okay.
So that is just where the luck begins on the 7 fumbles. Where it really gets weird is it's the third quarter. There's 2 minutes and 42 seconds left. The Niners are up 10-6. They just forced another Patrick Mahomes 3-and-out. At this point in the game, the Chiefs cannot get anything going offensively. And what do you know? They punt the ball, and out of the sky drops right off the back heel of a 49ers player.
Yeah.
And it falls right into the hands of a Chiefs player. Just out of the blue.
Well, McLeod did have first stab at that ball.
He did try to go. Yeah, he
If
did
he
try
had
to go
dove
dive
on that ball instead of trying to pick it up. That ball might
Sure.
be the 49ers.
Sure. But fluke play nonetheless for hitting
sure.
a guy in the back of the heel, right? So that was probably the biggest game-changing event that happened in that game, because the Chiefs score on that drive and they go up 13-10. So completely different outcome of the game if the Niners recover that punt. They're up 10-6. They have the momentum. Who knows what happens there? Now, the second biggest luck box thing that happened to the Chiefs was Dre Greenlaw tearing his Achilles heel walking onto the field in the second quarter.
That's unbelievable.
Towards the end of the half.
He tore his Achilles?
He tore his Achilles walking onto the field at the end of the half. Okay?
Okay.
Now, Greenlaw and Warner are 2 of the best linebackers in the game. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Going into halftime, Travis Kelce had 1 catch for 1 yard.
Yeah.
The Niners have to put in their backup linebacker, who is a special teams player. That's the majority of the snaps he plays. He's not a very good linebacker. Travis Kelce, the Chiefs exploited that in the second half, and he went off. Okay.
How do you think the NFL did it?
That's a great question.
Something in his shoe.
I mean,
but that is just a freaky thing.
Totally.
To break the Chiefs' way is one of your best defensive players blows his Achilles walking onto the field. Unbelievable.
I mean, 1 week ago, we're talking weird conspiracy theories heading into the Super Bowl around Taylor Swift.
Right.
And Greenlaw magically hurts his ACL.
Blow dart.
One of the two most important people to preventing the success of Taylor Swift's boyfriend.
Yes.
Oh, gentlemen.
Right.
Conspiracy gate.
So
Kidding. Go on.
the third thing, and this is probably the most overlooked thing in the entire game,
Yeah.
and this is where Chiefs caught probably the biggest break of the entire game. The 49ers starting right guard, John Feliciano, is their second best pass protector. Plays on the right side of the line, right guard, and he's had a high pass blocking grade by PFF all year. He's been fantastic. Not great run blocking, but great pass blocking. In the fourth quarter, he gets hurt and he's out of the game. He's done for. The Niners have to put in their backup right guard, who is a young player. He's in his second year, Spencer Burford. Flash forward to overtime. Okay. They're down on the Chiefs' 9-yard line. It's 3rd and 4 in overtime. Kyle Shanahan draws up the sweetest play. He's got Brandon Ayuk on the left-hand side for a wide open touchdown. He's standing in the end zone by himself, and he's got Juwan Jennings practically uncovered on the right side of the field, wide open for a touchdown. What happens on the play? Spencer Burford misses his blocking assignment. He blocks the wrong guy and lets Chris Jones right up the middle, untouched, right into Brock Purdy's lap. Feliciano got on Twitter and called Burford out.
Really?
Yes.
What?
I think I
Yes.
saw this
Yes.
and blamed it on the hangover.
No.
Oh.
He called Burford out and was basically like, dude, that's you. You missed your assignment. And Burford's like, yeah, you're right, I did. Feliciano would not have missed that block. The Chiefs had 9 free rushers on Purdy that game.
Oh, boy.
Untouched, right up the middle, unblocked. And so missing Feliciano on that last play was so huge because Shanahan drew up the sweetest play. If you watch the replay of that, there's the next closest guy to Jennings is 4 or 5 yards away, and the next closest guy to Ayuk is about 6 to 7 yards away, and they're both in for walk-in touchdowns.
Yeah.
And that was the backbreaker.
Yeah, you also got the, talking about fluke stuff, the blocked extra point, right?
The block extra point.
Yeah.
Although, I put that down further on the list
Yeah.
just because it didn't really affect the outcome of I'm almost thankful that it was blocked because the Niners go up 16-13.
Mahomes goes and scores a touchdown.
Right.
Oh,
Mahomes
yeah,
goes and goes and scores a touchdown.
Right.
And
You give him an
Mahomes,
extra
man.
play.
Yeah.
Mahomes, man.
Yeah.
Mahomes
Give him
and
4
Mahomes in the
downs
fourth.
from his
Yeah.
own 10.
Yeah.
Mahomes, man.
Too much time.
The other thing in the game was obviously the decision by Shanahan, and this is why everyone wants him fired, is that he took the ball
Right.
first in overtime when he should have kicked it because you don't want Mahomes to have 4 downs.
Right.
They got the Chiefs, if you remember, in their own territory on 4th and 1.
Mm-hmm.
Do they go for it? I don't know. They're backed up. They're close to the 25, 30-yard line. Do they go for it or do they punt it?
Right.
Look, I don't think at the end of the day, you're going to fire a coach for getting a 50-50 call wrong the first time a new rule is implemented.
Right.
Yeah,
So-
I get that.
It is what it is. That seemed like a lot of people were saying it's close. It's close. It's close. It's close. What you should do there. He made a call. It didn't work. Maybe he'll do it different next time, but he didn't really have much history to work off of.
Yeah. So it was just a gut-wrenching game watching it live and seeing them have it and then seeing them lose it again. But it's definitely not the worst 49ers loss I've seen.
Well, let me tell you, my least favorite moment, as my favorite moment of the entire night, was after the game. Everyone else had left. And Jay's mom, because Jay's mom was coming to pick up Kurt and Jay, two 30, 40-year-old guys getting picked up by Jay's
Right.
mom. And Kurt's just standing in the garage for 15 minutes with me, muttering to himself,
Woof.
"It's no different than being a Bears fan. It's not different at all. You guys talk all the time like it's different being a 49. It's not different. It all ends in the same place. I might rather be a Bears fan. You guys have draft picks.
We'll have you, pal. We'll have you.
And I'm just sitting there going, in my head, there's no way on this earth or any other being a 49ers fan is worse than being a Bears fan. But in this moment, I'm going to let Kurt have it.
Well, I mean,
I was just like, yeah, man, sure.
It's probably the beer talking.
yeah, definitely the beer talking. But would you rather lose Super Bowls and NFC championship games?
Right. Yes, of course.
Yes.
Right.
Really?
Okay.
Having not gotten to experience that
Sure.
since like the doink.
2 days later, do you want to switch positions with a Bears fan?
Right.
Right.
Answer the question.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
Bingo.
Exactly. Now you know the answer. We go. All right.
So, future state, obviously a tough loss, but here's the deal. Niners roster is still loaded. Everybody's going to be back. All the big name players are going to be back.
Right.
Purdy's going to have another year. They don't have any really big free agents. Chase Young, see ya, buddy. You played great in the Super Bowl. You did not play great after we got you up until the Super Bowl. You played like trash. You can go. They have 11 draft picks in this year's draft. Go out and replace, get some young talent, offensive line, corner, linebacker, shore up some of the free agents that you're going to lose, the backup players, and let's go do it again. I mean, you're a favorite to win at some books. You're going to win the division. There's not much competition in the NFC. The path is there.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the Super Bowl and play Mahomes again.
Unbelievable, right? Like they're the favorite to win it next year.
Yeah.
So obviously you don't want to be a Bears fan. We're over here at 30-1, like, think pretty highly of us, huh?
Dude, I saw the Bears. They got the Bears at like 25-1 at some places.
Unbelievable.
I was surprised.
They don't even have a quarterback.
Well, they might here pretty soon. Chiefs, congratulations. Spags, your defense was incredible, but you all got lucky as hell to
Right.
win that game.
See you next year.
See you next year.
You know what? That was too diplomatic of you. You Chiefs.
Boo,
Boo, Chiefs. You ruined our night out. We were going to go out on the town.
Oh, don't get me started.
Right.
Okay, we have to move on. We don't have enough time for that.
Okay.
So while Kurt was over here stressing the game and has spent the last 24 hours breaking it all down for us,
Let's talk about what people really talk about during the Super Bowl.
and I spent the entire Super Bowl running around, hosting, and doing all the responsible stuff, you have some of the more entertaining thoughts on the game.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
Okay.
First thing we want to know, Duncan or Skechers, who had the better commercial?
Yeah, that's a question for you guys. It's the only two that really caught my eyeball. Also, maybe it just wasn't that type of party where people were watching the commercials.
That's why you need to tell us which one had a better.
Oh, that's why it's my job. You guys aren't going to chime in on this. Well, it definitely was Dunkin'
I don't
Donuts.
know either of the commercials.
That's hilarious.
I drank too much beer to watch
Right.
any
That's
commercial.
why I said I have to flip this around on you, because I looked at it and I go, I don't know the answer to any of these questions.
Do you remember when like the commercials mattered, like monkey punky baby or whatever, and like the Budweiser commercials with the frogs and stuff?
Is that over?
I think it might be.
It might be over.
It might be over.
I couldn't tell you about any of these.
Yeah.
So you said the Duncan one was better than the Skechers one?
I believe so. But
that
Mr.
because
T,
it- is
Mr.
that-
T had a nice cameo in the Skechers one.
I did see a headline about that one. It looked like it had Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, and Tom Brady.
Definitely one of those two guys. Probably all three. I don't know that I would recognize them. And definitely Tom Brady.
Well, they were all wearing.
Dunkin' Donuts tracksuits. Yeah. Halloween costume next year for the Good Juju crew, probably.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I definitely think that the way we have Super Bowls parties impacts that. So like this year, we were so hyper focused on Kurt with the 49ers. I forgot that commercials were a thing.
Right.
And I spent all the commercials doing other stuff so that I could be focused on the game.
And like, by the second half, I'm like, okay, we're done here with this, right? So I started muting the commercials and like people were yelling at me.
Really? I don't remember that.
Okay, so speaking of the parts of the Super Bowl people care about, did you guys watch the halftime show?
No.
So I did stand there and dance to it. Yes.
Yeah. You didn't watch it?
No.
No? Okay.
I danced with the Arise chicken.
Did you really?
Yes.
Nice.
I've got video. Don't
That's
worry.
great.
Yeah. Okay, so since you watched it, Ludacris or Lil Jon, who had the better cameo?
Ludicrous.
You think so? Yeah. I'm going to go with Lil Jon there, but overall, pretty solid performance.
I don't remember what Little John looks like or what song he would sing.
Yeah, turned down for what?
Yeah, it's a biased pick by you, bud.
I do know who Ludacris is, so I pick Ludacris.
Has also
He's from Champaign, Illinois. Shout out Ludacris.
Is that a thing?
Yeah.
Fact check.
Fact check.
Luda.
All right. Now, also speaking of the absolute only thing anyone wanted to talk about during the Super Bowl outside of the three of us, do you guys think Taylor Swift's going to be at week 1 next year?
Don't care.
Next.
Super Bowl squares, staple or see you later?
That's a great question.
That is a great question.
So we did Super Bowl squares this year, and we ended up each putting in about $85 with 2 other people purchasing between the 5 of us about 90% of the squares,
Right.
with everyone else at the party buying between 1 and 2 each. Kind of exactly as I predicted it. And I walked away up $200. You, Kurt, walked away not up $200. I won $200. You won $200, Kurt. Stevie won $100. RJ, you lost. So I guess the question's for you. Are we doing this again? I'm in.
I'm in.
I'm in.
I thought it was fun because people were going like, Kurt, you have 0-0. And I'm like, what? I don't know. Don't talk to me about this now.
I mean, best case scenario next year, the Bears are not in it, the Niners are not in it, and we can get back to regular Super Bowl parties, right?
Yeah. And we didn't really like close the loop this year, but we didn't really
I don't like that idea.
work on growing the loop
Obviously, we want the Bears and the 49ers to play each other in the Super Bowl.
from the same conference.
So, yeah, I will say this. That was exciting, like Pete getting his pencil out and shouting at everybody that had the scores. But not a single person checked the prop sheet. So I think it's one or the other.
Super Bowl squares. Easier. More
Yes,
engaging.
It is more engaging.
Let's go
See
Super Bowl squares.
you prop sheets.
See you later, prop sheets. All right. That's going to wrap up the NFL season for us in the Super Bowl. We're moving on because we're talking my favorite topic, maybe my favorite topic in all of sports. We're talking college coaches who cannot win it all.
What a niche.
Now, an overview for those who weren't in on the November conversation that we had on this very podcast. I have said for years, some college coaches just suck in the NCAA tournament. My number one target has been Matt Painter. People are currently betting on Matt Painter to win the national title at 7-1.
And he coaches whom?
Purdue. And I feel I owe the world the common courtesy of telling them to stop. Now, to recap our conversation, we placed 5 wagers from our November conversation. We bet on UConn at 18-1. I had them in my sights at 25-1, and I just didn't pull the trigger, got them at 18-1. We got Alabama at 60-1. We got Gonzaga at 40-1. And we got USC at who cares to 1.
Whoops.
It was 60-1. We recommended at that time to wait on Kansas for a better number and then jump, which we did at 25-1. And we learned a few things coming out of that conversation. So here are the ground rules that we used to come up with those 4 bets and to then investigate further today whether or not there are any others to look at. 13 of the last 16 NCAA titles have been won by a 1 or a 2 seed. UConn won each of the other 3 titles. That's still amazing. I have to repeat that fact. I looked at a lot of stuff by top 4 seed because I think that 1-2 seed might get challenged this year. You can definitely need an easy path to get it done, though. So you really do need to look at those top seeds in one way or another. You need an elite offense and at least a solid defense. Gotta be elite on offense. Gotta be at least good on defense. But then we added a couple factors from the coaching side of things. 1, you need experience. If you have only been to 1, 2, 3 tourneys, you better be Kevin Ollie. I will bet against the Kevin Ollie every year and be okay with it. The other thing is, you better not have a consistent long-term history of underperforming in the tournament. This is really what we're testing with this process. Why would you bet on some coaches at luxury building prices with such red flags attached to their historical performance in the tournament? And we aren't talking guys who've been to the tournament like 3 to 9 times here. each of these coaches we're laying out have been to the tournament double-digit times. So let's see how this plays out. First, quick rundown. 25 teams on the board per Vegas Insider. UConn, Purdue, Houston, Arizona, Tennessee, North Carolina, Alabama, Auburn, Kansas, Marquette, Duke, Iowa State, Illinois, Kentucky, Baylor, Wisconsin, BYU, Michigan State, Creighton, St. Mary's, Texas Tech, Florida Atlantic, San Diego State, Florida, and New Mexico. I don't know if I'm going to keep all those in, guys, okay? But I put them out there. All right?
What do you mean those are the 25 teams on the board?
Those are the top 25 teams per Vegas Insider's rankings of
odds.
Yeah.
Okay.
So those are the top 25 on the odds board right now. We got to work to eliminate as many of these as possible through this process.
Okay. Okay. I get it.
Let's start with a general rule. To win on a title, you have to be great on offense and good on defense. So let's get rid of some of these teams. If you're not in the top 30 offensively, we're getting rid of you. Iowa State, North Carolina, St. Mary's, New Mexico, San Diego State. That's 5 teams right there, including a 2 seed and a 3 seed per bracket matrix. So, okay. So
gotcha.
let's reference that real quick. I utilize bracket matrix to reference these numbers in terms of where their current seeding could potentially come.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So we've eliminated 5 of those teams. Now, on the defensive side of the board, Kentucky and Florida Atlantic, outside the top 75, there's another couple teams that were like 75, 76, 77. I kept them all in. But outside of that, Kentucky and Florida Atlantic, we can remove. That gets us down to 7 eliminated. Couple quick notes here. Hubert Davis, North Carolina, 2 seed. The 39th best offense isn't getting it done. Hubert Davis has been to exactly 1 NCAA tournament. Don't bet on them. TJ Otzelberger, Iowa State, 3 seed. He's only won a game in the NCAA tournament 1 year, despite going 5 times, 4 times, something like that. Outside the top 30 in offense, no reason to reach. Kentucky is a 16-1 to win the national title on Caesars right now. They don't have a top 100 defense. Why would you bet that? They don't have a top 100 defense.
Name brand, right?
Now, there were 8 teams that were top 25 in both offense and defense. All these numbers are coming courtesy of Bart Torvik. Houston, Purdue, Connecticut, Arizona, Auburn, Tennessee, Marquette, and Michigan State. And we get to eliminate 5 of the top 8 seeds for no reason other than their coaches cannot win it all. This is where I start to get worried. I go, oh my, I'm going to eliminate 5 of the top 8 seeds, and I just said that only 1 and 2 seeds can win the NCAA tournament. So here we go. The first one, we have a bet on. We love you, Corby. He gave out Houston at 28-1, and we went ahead and bet them along with Corby. But Corby did not factor that Kelvin Sampson cannot win it all.
Whoops.
He's been to the NCAA tournament 12 times, and he's had a top 4 seed 8 of those times. His lifetime performance against computer expectations. That is Bart Torvik's number for how you performed versus how well they believe you should have performed in the tournament. Minus 1.7. He has used that top 4 8 seed to make the Final Four 2 times, the national championship game 0 times, and he cannot lead a team to the title. He's projected as a current 1 seed, and he's currently plus 700 at several books. You got a guy who's been a top 4 seed 8 times and a lifetime underperformance in terms of pay. I don't believe Kelvin Sampson could win a title.
Well, let me tell you, I sent a text in our thread, and I watched Houston play this past weekend. And I was like, nah, there's no way this team is going to score enough points against one of these top teams to get it done.
All right. Well, let's break that down then real quick here. Curtis, there's 2 problems with that. 1, you watch 98% NBA. And
True.
Every time I've ever had any conversation with you about any college basketball game ever, you have said everyone sucks.
True.
Do you not think that there is probably a bias there related to the types of basketball content you regularly consume?
I mean, man, they are not good offensively.
Number 2, we have talked a number of times about the variance associated with 18 to 22-year-olds who play basketball. And in all those situations, the evaluation of those teams based on a one-game sample size is about as absurd as a person can make. Would you agree with that part, Curtis?
I'm telling you, man, they can't score.
All right. We're going to move on to
Shout
the
out.
research that I actually did here, sir.
At Keep Betting CC. Shout out, Corby.
And we're not going to trust his one-game eyes. We are going to trust the fact that Calvin Sampson cannot win a title. We got to move on here. We're going to go too long. Number 2 on my list of coaches who cannot win a title, we have Shaka Smart. 10 trips to the NCAA tournament, only 2 top 4 seeds. However, he has only won more than one game in the NCAA tournament one time. And that was his magical Cinderella team, his first year in the tournament that built his entire career, nothing since. He can't win a title. He's projected as a 2 seed, plus 2,500 at most books, but we can cross him off.
Is that Marquette?
Marquette.
Okay.
Number 3, Rick Barnes. This guy is brutal. 20 trips to the tournament since 2000. 10 times he's been a top 4 seed. He has a lifetime performance against computer expectations of minus 6.4. He is the second worst coach in the database. 1 Final Four with 10 top 4 seed teams. He cannot win a title for Tennessee. He's projected a 2 seed plus 1,400 at several books. Tommy Lloyd, Arizona. This is an interesting case. We'll see more of this in our second tier evaluation. He's only been to 1 tournament. If you've only been to 1 tournament, you don't have the experience per this strategy to win a title. But not last but not least, among the 8 coaches who cannot win a title of the top 8 teams, Matt Painter, Purdue. He's been to the NCAA tournament 15 times. He's had a top 4 seed 8 times, and he has a lifetime performance against computer expectations of minus 4.7. His 8 top 4 seeds has resulted in exactly 1 Elite 8 and 0 Final Fours. He cannot lead this team to a title, yet he's projected as a 1 seed and currently plus 700 at several books.
Are we going to be firing their first round game on the money line?
Oh, well, that
Didn't that happen last year?
went pretty well last year.
I feel like I'm staking a lot more or going out here and calling all these coaches incapable of winning an NCAA tournament. I don't know that I need to wager on top.
Okay.
Sure, why not? What am I talking about? I'm going to cut that. All right. Now that leaves us with 3 coaches who can win it all among these 8 teams. But first we get to eliminate one of these teams because it's Michigan State. Tom Izzo has done it. One of the greatest tournament coaches of all time. Not worried about his age, anything silly like that. He's not going to get a high enough seed here. You need to be a top 4 seed to face a reasonable path through, per my expert evaluation. And Michigan State is not there. I won't be betting them to win it all, but if they did, it is Izzo. So I'm not saying don't bet on Izzo. I'm not going to die on the hill of he can't do it. But right now they're projected a 9 seed. At plus 5,500, I'm not swallowing a 9 seed for Michigan State. So that brings us to 2 coaches, one of whom we've already bet on. Connecticut and Dan Hurley did it. Dominant. You should be holding a ticket with us. They're projected a 1 seed plus 700. We bet it at 18 to 1. Yay. Current number.
Cash it.
Not betting in too much. Oh, be quiet. We're not going to cash that. That leaves us with Bruce Pearl, Auburn. He's made 12 trips to the tournament, but only 4 top 4 seeds. 3 of those 4 years, he did have a negative PAKE, but overall in the tournament, he has been a good coach. Plus 2.5 PAKE overall. He is a case of a coach with double-digit tries, a positive overall PAKE, and still no title. He's projected as a 3 seed, and you can currently get it plus 2,000 on FanDuel. So that's the one ticket that we don't have that I told you guys. Let's fire
add it.
So we added Auburn plus 2,000 on FanDuel to our existing portfolio.
Love it.
Now, let's take a look at some of these other teams, because there were 10 teams, top 25 in one category, but not top 25 in the other. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. We had several coaches here: Mark Pope, BYU, John Shire, Duke, Grant McCaslin, Texas Tech, Todd Golden, Florida. Each of these coaches has only been to the tournament one time. I'm not going to go bet coaches with little to no experience, as we laid out. So sorry for those programs. Maybe your day is coming. We don't know yet. We just know you don't have the chops right now to win a title. Now, we have no coaches in this list who explicitly cannot win a title for reasons other than inexperience. So it's kind of interesting. The top teams have all these experienced coaches who can't win a title, and these in the mix ones have a lot of coaches who don't meet our criteria. So that said, there are still 6 teams here. Let's run through them real quick. First of all, you have the coaches who can win it all. Bill Self at Kansas, he's done it twice. He's kind of average overall in terms of a tournament coach, given the fact that he's won it twice. But we did buy them at 25-1. They're around 22 right now to 1. And all I can say is stop losing, so you can get that projected 2 seed you have now and make a real run with all that experience you got around you. Scott Drew at Baylor. He has won a title. Overall, outside that tournament run, he's been very mediocre in the tournament, though. But we're not going to rule him out because he does have the title. Really here, though, the defense is the question. 76th in the country right now, so it was right on that cut line. This is one to maybe keep an eye on, see if they improve there. They're projected a 3 seed plus 4,000 on FanDuel. Not going to dive right now, but I'm kind of curious about it. Then you've got coaches who are still TBD. These are guys who I wouldn't classify as can't win a title. I wouldn't classify them as too young, but kind of now is the time to find out. Nate Oates at Alabama. He's been to 6 tournaments, 2 top 4 seeds, underperformed both times. Analysts seem to love him, though. The analytics love the offense. The defense here is kind of the question mark. 75th in the country, so just 1 spot above Baylor. So at the end of the day, we bet them at 60-1. They're 20-1 now. I wouldn't recommend that as bet there, but let's see where that defense goes. Hopefully they can continue to improve. Brad Underwood in Illinois. Okay. Doesn't yet have double-digit tournaments, but his numbers since leaving Stephen F. Austin in particular are troubling. As an Illinois fan, I can tell you I'm disappointed in the tournament results so far. That said, he hasn't cemented himself as a can't win a title coach, but he's looking at the wrong side of the equation. I'm going to bet it as an emotional hedge as soon as I can somewhere that'll let me. I would not say this is a team you have to bet, especially since our best player is playing with a rape charge over his head. I don't know how to factor that into the math, but I don't know any teams that have won the NCAA title with the rape charge over the head. They're projected as a 4 seed right now. 40-1. At the end of the day, I don't love the Terrence Shannon situation. It's got to be a cloud over the heads, but I'm going to bet it because I'm a homer. So I'd leave it at that. Greg McDermott at Creighton. 11 tournament appearances, 1 top 4 seed. He's hovering right around average in terms of his tournament performance. He's generally been less well performing on the offensive side of the ball, but they're hovering right around the top 25 in both offense and defense right now. Projected as a 4 seed plus 5,000. This is probably the one that's most intriguing to me. If they keep improving, this is one where I'd look to jump.
Improving in the offensive defense.
Yeah. I mean, they're like right around top 25 in both.
Yeah. Gotcha. So that's good.
That's one where if those kind of jump, you're looking at an elite caliber team. And then last but not least, Greg Gard, Wisconsin, 5 NCAA tournaments, 1 top 4 seed and a 0.4 peg. This is kind of like an Illinois light to me here too. Their offense isn't quite as good, top 20, but not quite as good as Illinois'. Their defense just outside the top 50, currently projected as a 4 seed as well. You can get them a little better than Illinois at plus 6,000. I just don't see them as strong enough right now on offense or defense to need to really push this one. So I would not be betting them. So before we go down the road of what the net implications are, here's the best part of this whole gag. The worst coach in their entire database in terms of PAIC has an NCAA tournament title.
What?
It's Tony Bennett. But I'm telling you something right here, right now. This is the greatest example of the exception that proves the rule. I still wouldn't bet on Tony Bennett's trash offense to win anything other than an ugliest looking competition. He's had 2 years with a top 25 offense, and he's right back at it with trash, garbage offensive teams that have no business playing in national titles because they can't run a efficient enough offense to really get it done over the course of 6 straight games. So yeah, that's hilarious. It may disprove everything I'm trying to talk about. But I think it's the exception that proves the rule. So where does that leave us, Jamblers? We eliminated 7 teams due to basic metrics saying they don't have the makeup of a tournament team. We then eliminated another 10 coaches due to either inexperience or terrible tournament performance. Among those 8 remaining, we're currently holding Connecticut, Alabama, and Kansas. We also have Gonzaga and USC. Full transparency. I would hold on 4 of the remaining 5 teams we're talking about: Baylor, Illinois, Creighton, and Wisconsin. As mentioned, I'm most interested in Creighton here. Let's see what happens. That leaves us with one add to our card: Auburn at 20-1 on FanDuel. They have us all. They have it all, and I think Pearl can probably get it done, which stinks as an Illinois fan. If you know your basketball history, then you know. If you don't, well, we can talk. So let's go UConn, Alabama, Kansas, and Auburn, and Gonzaga, and USC, and Illinois, and New Mexico, and Houston.
Right. We are dialed.
There are a lot of highly ranked teams with coaches who can't win it all this year, folks. Let's take advantage of it. Any questions, boys?
Wow.
When can I start firing?
Well, you already did because I gave it to you early.
Right.
Well, I know that.
I got all these teams. When do we fire on Creighton?
Yeah.
You going to tweet us?
I will let you know. I'm going to look at it again before the NCAA tournament starts.
So we're hoping that they improve on offense or defense.
Yes. And I hope I improve at doing this as well. Because this is my 3rd time taking a stab at this. And I finally feel like, I might have an idea here that's going to be disproven in year 1. And everyone's going to laugh at me when I'm dying on a hill of Matt Painter cannot win a national title. And he's
totally his year.
Runs his way through the entire NCAA tournament. So we're going to find out.
Nice work.
It's a fun exercise. We're trying to take advantage of some data that's out there.
Yeah.
We're going to try to look at it from a unique perspective. We're saying we don't think certain coaches can win it all.
Yeah. I like the concept. Real quick on the PAKE, is that how you say it? Is that like that measurement? It's like how many wins they should have gotten, or?
Right. So it looks at, based on your matchups, what your win probability was in each game as you went along.
Gotcha.
So if you lose to a team you should have beaten, then
that's like -1.
Yeah. And I like that better than you can also look at the performance against seed expectations.
Yeah.
Well, we like our computer models more than we like our human beings ranking individuals.
Of course.
So you get a 6 versus an 11, where an 11 is better than a 6.
Right. Very interesting.
So we use it against I preferred the versus computer expectation.
Yes.
I have a quick question when we talk about adding to our futures bets here on this tournament winner. How focused in are you on this? Because if Creighton, let's just say Creighton gets a little hot here. They're plus 5,000 now. Let's say in 3 weeks they drop to plus 4,000.
25-1. Yeah.
Yeah. Are we losing some value here since you've highlighted some of these teams that could win it all, but you're not quite sure on when we're getting some, it looks like plus 5,000 is a pretty good odd for a top 25 offense and defense to win the whole thing.
So we did this with football when we looked at coaches who can win it all, and we landed on the most obvious Nick Saban play ever. But a lot of that was based on their future schedule.
Okay.
And if you want to go take a look at Creighton's future schedule, you'll probably get a good sense of, are they going to have a lot of challenging games that are going to be difficult to win and impact voters? Or are they going to have a bunch of cupcakes? And really, it doesn't matter, because if you have cupcakes, you're trying to avoid bad losses. And if you're playing tough competition, you really aren't getting hurt by the losses at all. So it's still kind of hard to predict what's going to happen regarding their seed based on that. I'm not here to guess as far as I'm not modeling anything related to performance.
Yeah.
So right now, I just feel like I've got a heavy enough card with who I'm looking at that I'm not trying to dive on a current 4 seed sitting out there at plus 5,000 with neither offensive nor defensive metrics showing really true exception in one area or another.
Okay.
Yeah,
So I don't know.
I said before, like I already got so many teams. I don't know that I can add many more.
Right.
Like,
They
it's
just,
gonna be a
they're
wash.
they're the one I'm most interested in, but I wasn't interested enough to fire, whereas Auburn can definitely win the national title. And so to get them at 20-1 still, everything about them is good. So I'm happy to be holding them at 20-1 still.
Guess I better bet on them again.
No. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us. Next up, we have George Panagakis. So stay tuned for that. Good juju to your bets, and we will talk again soon.
Are we done?
We welcome into the show George Riley Panagakis. You can find him at GRP Wins on Twitter. George has carved out a niche on gambling Twitter that we're big fans of. His videos have racked up thousands of views by offering up his betting positions in a unique way. Now, for the full background on how George got into gambling, I'd recommend everyone check out Spanky's episode with you on the Be Better Betters podcast. I really enjoyed it, so thanks for taking the time with him. It was a fun conversation. That said, let's get into some stuff that wasn't covered in that conversation, George. You spoke with Spanky about your first foray into gambling through parlay cards. Very similar to many of our backgrounds, and we've actually had several guests on give the very similar experiences. And how this led into researching stats in the Skokie library back in '83. Those stories, I absolutely loved every part of those stories. For the gambling portion and for much of that interview, you guys then jump to 2018 and talk about your most recent foray into gambling. But what I'm left wondering here, George, you had 20 years and you're telling him stories about how you're breaking into both Bet Bash and the VSiN studios and all this. Is there no good stories going on from your 20s, 30s, and 40s here?
You know what's funny? We made the interview. It was like maybe 8, 9 o'clock at night, and I could just tell he was a little rushed. The whole interview only lasted like 15 minutes, and it was, I liked it, but I could just tell, everyone's had different days, different things. He was a little rushed. It was only like a 20-minute interview. So yes, there were some couple gaps in the stories, and that's a great question. So the key here is correct. I graduated high school in '82, and I was, underachieving in junior college. And I really got into the sports gambling. So unbelievable what I did. I would literally go to the Skokie Library, which is like the best library in the Chicago area, where you can get like newspapers going back 20, 30 years, like on a microfilm. So back then I was into the NBA and the NFL, but I was doing stats on the NBA and the NFL. So I would get microfilm of literally every single Sun Times. So let's say from September 1 to like May, I would literally manually go to the odds section and I would write the point spread of every single basketball game and every single NFL game. So I literally spent a couple months of my life just writing down this data, which if I was smart, I don't know if they had it back then. Like Gold Sheet does sell some historical data where maybe I could have bought it, but I was just, I just didn't figure that out yet. So unfortunately, I spent a lot of time just writing down data. And then I would analyze it. So I was really into sports gambling from like 18 to 25. And I was, while I'm kind of like doing work and so forth and so on. And then you have like maybe 1 year where you break out even, like in the NFL. And then your friends start making fun of you and you say, hey, what do you mean you got a system, you got a form? You're nothing. So you have a breakout year, an average year, and then you lose your confidence. And then literally I kind of like almost from the age of 25 to about early 50s, I literally did very, very little sports betting. I almost none. Let's put it that way.
Were you grinding it up in the casinos during that time? Because you talk about being a poker player.
Right. So then 10 years later, at the age of 33-ish, I moved to California. And then about 5 years later, when I was about 40-ish, correct, exactly 20 years ago, with the moneymaker boom, I got into poker. So for the last 20 years, that's been like my gig. It was fun 20 years ago, and now it's a grind. It's not fun at all.
Are you still playing poker?
Yes, there's Rivers Casino. The poker room opened up exactly 22 months ago, April of 2022, and the first year the games were easy, and literally the last 6 months, the games have become tough. There's nothing easy anymore.
George, did you have to go to the Horseshoe? 30 minutes from Chicago?
Indiana?
Indiana, yeah.
Correct. It's in Hammond, Indiana. It's kind of like just west of Gary, just east of Chicago.
Yeah.
Right. I've been back here home for about 5 years, kind of like helping out my mom and doing this and that. So yes, 3 years ago, I would go to the Horseshoe, and then COVID hit, and then everything got all screwed up. And now the Horseshoe has really gone downhill because now there's all this competition around them, and they know they have no future. And literally, you can go. I mean, they won't fix the carpets. There's no security in the parking lot. The Horseshoe knows their days are done. So the Horseshoe's really gone downhill, but the games are still good. That's what I hear.
That's a shame because that poker room is awesome.
It's an old school.
Yeah.
Right. I wasn't here when it opened. I was in California, but if I was smart, I think it opened in 2008. And of course, just like anywhere, I heard the games were great for like 5 years.
Yeah.
But I was never there back then.
That's the only place in the area where I could go play PLO. So I would hit the PLO tables up there.
Right. And as you know, if you're a PLO guy, PLO's a niche, and PLO players, there's 15 places around the whole country where you can play, and a lot of the PLO players know each other because I did the Miami thing. I was in Florida day one, July 1, 2010, when Florida changed the laws. I was there. I moved from California to Florida day one. So the PLO players, they kind of know each other.
And PLO is
Pot Limit Omaha. It's a tough game.
Yeah.
You got to be really good.
So now, as far as your current venture, you've seen a lot of engagement from your videos, which feature your notebook. You write into your notebook, very old school. Here's what my bets are. Here are my positions, and then lay out in video updates kind of where you stand, how you're performing. And you've generated a lot of traction as a result of that. What do you think has been the secret to generating the kind of following you suddenly find yourself with?
Well, it's two things. It's integrity, because in this business, I mean, number one, everyone lies, or everyone's a winner, and people can't believe I actually show losses. And then I'll get back. I'll tell you what I did in 2018. But number two, real quick, this is just by accident. About 4 months ago, I started these videos. I mean, literally one day my nail was bleeding on my finger, and I don't know why I did like a video of it. I have no idea why. And then I did another weird video, like I'm in my washroom, and people are like, "What is this guy, weirdo?" And I'm down in my den, and people are making fun of me, but they relate to it. It's hard to explain. And now these videos, everyone can relate. And I'm like, "Boy, I should have done these videos years ago." There's something about it. They really relate to it, and they relate to the fact that I'll show a loss, and they can't believe someone actually has integrity in this business.
Yeah. So with the good of that also comes a little bad, and you seem to get trolled a little bit on Twitter. Do you find that valuable because it increases the engagement, or does that get to you at all?
That's also a great question. There's also the old saying, there's no such thing as bad publicity.
Right.
So about 2-3 years ago, I'll even mention his name because now we enjoy each other's company. Real Fats was like one of my guys. He was to a degree a stalker. He would always respond to everything I did, but he's an intelligent guy. And it's like, in his own way, he just loved keeping track of everything I did. And everything would be negative. And yes, I blocked him more than once, but I also realized he brings publicity because he's also been interviewed by Spanky, and everyone in Vegas knows him, and he's a smart gambler. So I do get publicity from him attacking me. So with a guy like that, it's a double-edged sword. But some guys are just, they got 40 followers, and you just got to get rid of them.
It's kind of hard to have the patience in those sorts of situations, right?
Right. Well, now I got to ask you now, because the big event happened in 2018. Were you guys following me in 2018, 2019? Yes or no? Probably no. Or
no. So what happened was Illinois legalized, because we're here in Illinois as well, sports gambling in 2020 during the pandemic, and we were DFS players before that, daily fantasy, and we moved over to this legal sports gambling once it became available. Right. So I got to tell you about 2018, so everyone understands the foundation. We all know the Supreme Court changed the law in May of 2018. That's what started this all. So what I knew at that time was, I said to myself, well, this sports gambling is going to be big. And I said to myself, well, I think I still know what I'm doing. I've got all this data from 20 years ago, which is worthless, but I wanted to update it. So once that law was passed, I spent the next 3-4 months getting ready for the football season. So then I updated my data. And then what I did was I tweeted with no videos at all. I said, okay, I literally went to Vegas, walked into sports books, every one of them over the course of 3 days, and I handed them, I said, who's the manager?
I literally handed them just a business card. Say I'm GRP wins. I'm going to tweet all my picks at kickoff to prove that I'm a legitimate handicapper and an honest guy. So I literally walked to Vegas like a week before the year started. You walk the strip, in the morning you go to these, and then at night you can come back and get the nighttime shift manager. And I literally handed out hundreds of business cards. So I tweeted all my picks in 2018, and my record was 28-21, which, believe it or not, that's like top 5%. No big deal. So I had a good year. I had a winning year. And
So
then I'm
let
like,
me
the
ask-
next year.
Can I ask
Go
this
ahead.
real quick?
Sure.
During that time, you said, you kind of went back to your process from 20 years ago. Did you use the same process, or did you approach it from a different perspective in 2018?
Right. Well, think the biggest difference is that there's more points scored now. It's a little different game, and I think people now are a little sharper. Where the home dog 20 years ago may have been better than it is today, and now the home dog gets a little less points because they know there's an advantage of the home dog. So I think believe it or not, just like a poker room, every 6 months the room changes. Guys will check raise, guys will tight, loose, and just like sports, every couple of years things change. So you have to change with the flow of the game.
So let me ask this, because in 83, you were visiting the Skokie Library, writing down numbers on pieces of paper. But like we see you today writing down numbers in your notebook, in your videos, but your research, are you also doing that pen and paper? Or are you doing your research, using modern methods?
I do, right, 100% modern methods. I haven't done it in a couple of years, but you can, number one, you can just go to the gold sheet.
Yeah.
And they'll sell you like historical data of the end. I know they did 2 years ago. I don't know if they still did, of like NBA and NFL. You can just get literally the score of every game, and then you can analyze it however you want. So 100%. Now I buy the data, or you can probably go to a website on your computer, and there's the data. There's no way I go to the library anymore like it did like a dummy for 6 months. It was nuts.
No, that's why I'm asking, because you were saying you were approaching the same system, and I go, wait, his system was going to a library and writing down.
Right.
A little different.
Right.
So, well, good.
No, but the difference now is the basic data I get with technology rather than going to the library.
Right. Smart.
Sorry, so now I got to tell you now. So, 2018, I'm like, okay, I got to check. I tweeted all my picks at kickoff. People respected it. I had a decent year, but no big deal. So now 2019, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it 2 years in a row. People are going to. I go to Vegas again, Labor Day weekend, hand out my business cards. So literally, half the shift managers in Vegas will be following my tweets in 2019. What happens, of course, I have the worst year in my entire career ever in 2019, and I still know my record, 27-39, which it's a disaster. So I'm like, okay, I have integrity, people. So I have a losing record now over 2 years. What's the point? So guess what I do in 2020? I start documenting handicappers. I'm like, I have a reputation, but who cares what I do now? Because I can have another good year, and a guy can legitimately say, well, guess what? You're even over the last 3 years. And he'd be right to say that. Who cares what I think? So now I start documenting handicappers, because these guys that sell these picks, these guys are all scumbags. I can't stand these guys. So I wanted to promote the little guy that no one heard of, and let him make a name for himself. And I had a couple dozen people that paid me a little bit of money. And it's a long story with COVID. Things got all screwed up. And then a couple times I went back and I'm selling picks. So things were kind of screwed up for a couple years. But a couple of guys did get a lot of publicity out of the deal.
Very cool.
That's good.
Right. And then what happened was, again, now this is where the real Fats comes in. Again, now he's a good guy, but because he wanted to be documented. He wanted to join it. But what happens is it's like if you get 20 guys that buy a McDonald's franchise, well, you're going to get a couple of guys that want to do things their way and they want to break the rules. And it's hard to corral all these people, because one guy wants to buy a half a point. One guy wants to keep track of this.
Sure.
It's good. Right. But so Fat's a good guy, but I would make like, he would critique everything. He would critique everything I did. He was literally fascinated by me. He couldn't wait to anything I tweeted. He responded. It was one of those fascinations. It was a love-hate kind. It was unbelievable. But again, like I realized, because he's well known, I kept him around for the publicity, and it worked.
George, you said you were keeping track of all these handicappers once you flipped over from making your own picks. Were you posting on Twitter records or calling out anybody?
No. So what happened was I made very simple rules, and I used Twitter because there's no way that I or the handicapper can be in a scam. All this person had to do, anytime during the week from like Tuesday to kickoff, all they had to do was send out a tweet and say, oh, Mr. Joe Blow, here's my picks. Here's the 2 sports books that I use for my line source. And that was it. So there's no way that I could be in the scam either, because everybody saw the tweet. And of course, guess what happened? 90% of the guys could not, they had a losing record.
Of course.
They can't beat the number.
Right.
That's the reality of it. So, there's a couple of companies now that kind of quote unquote document handicappers. Even if they do it, even if they're legitimate, guess what happens? 90% of the handicappers, if they're really right, they're losing anyway. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. So you're
it's so hard to beat the number.
You're kind of running like a lo-fi handicapper contest over Twitter with a couple dozen guys, it sounds like.
Correct. Right. They paid me a little bit of money. I was the middleman that made some rules. Calling it a contest, basically they're getting publicity. And a lot of people are like, well, why am I paying you? Well, you're I have a couple thousand followers. You're going to get publicity, and this is how you work. This is how you benefit.
Yeah, exactly.
And for a couple of years, I did that enough.
That's a fun idea.
We had thought that idea a couple times.
No one else had ever done it before.
Yeah, that's cool.
Because what you guys didn't know is 20 years ago, when you guys were 5, there used to be companies, a documentation company. There were like 2 or 3 well-known ones, and they were 90% a scam. You'd have to call some number and give them your picks. You don't know if this guy's telling the truth, and it was a joke.
Right? We are all 40, George.
Are you being serious?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys look young. Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you. We do appreciate that. All right. So then you moved into this personality role, and you've been doing these videos, and the engagement behind them has been great, which has led me to the naturally obvious question: has your mom rubbed it in your face since she hit that Kansas City wager?
You know what? She sits in the kitchen upstairs. I'm downstairs in the den. She's actually said very, very little. And 4 days ago, she came out of the blue. Who's this Travis guy? And she says, how much do I win if I bet 50? And she says, okay, I want to bet $100 on Kansas City. And to what effect Taylor Swift had, who knows? But because Travis Kelce and Taylor are getting a lot of publicity. And she was the public on the Super Bowl, the public in Kansas City. A couple, if you want to call them pros or not, a couple big money bettors, as we know, had San Francisco. And again, it was a total coin flip game. It was a one-play game. I had no opinion on the game, but you watch the media, yesterday or today, they act like San Francisco stinks. I mean, the whole thing's it's a joke. I mean, San Francisco's a great team, and they have a very good coach, and they lost a one-play game. Bottom line.
So she's not now insisting that she's a better sports gambler than you?
No, she's not. Not at all.
That's good. That's good. You don't want that in your own house, bud. All right. So now that we're on the topic, let's talk gambling. You have a fascinating portfolio that you just wrapped up your NFL season with, and we're excited to break it down with you. You just released your videos on your season over the last day or so. You had 3 of them, I believe, that came out. And
correct.
So let's go over those real quick here. So
you got it.
Your notebook here reported plus 3K in total value. First, let's talk about the NFL season that was. Your weekly bets, great season, plus 2,500. Your Super Bowl and other miscellaneous, another great season, plus 2,200, which you're $1,000 better. So that's like almost plus 5 units between those over the course of the season. And then you had the season-long portfolio, which you've gotten kind of famous for now, the comeback player of the year, which bit you a little bit with the minus 8,700 in terms of the season-long portfolio. So as we get to the end of that, your entire year, you resulted around minus 4 units. It was a fun ride following you on that journey. But what learnings do you think you took away from the season?
Well, the learning number one is, it's like you said, the portfolio. That was another thing that took off. So I had my long-term futures positions, maybe last May during the summer, I had on positions for the season. I'd bet 1,000, 2,000. Hang on, I got my portfolio right here. So what happened was then, I think during the middle of the year, I would update, I would make an estimate, like the chances, like the value of each one. And people were really getting into these percentages. It was, there's some people that think these are exact numbers. These are just estimates. Even like Spanky, when he interviewed me, he was like, where do these numbers come from? I go, well, he goes, you just pull these things out of your ass. Where do these percentages come from? People are going nuts with these percentages. I'm like, Spanky, they're just estimates. Every week I change this. No big deal. And I'm looking at my portfolio right now. And the weird thing is, I had about 10. Keep the comeback player of the year to the side for 1 second. I had about 10 outright winners and about 10 outright losers. My big winner was Arizona. I literally won about $9,000 betting the over in Arizona. and I lost about $7,000 betting the under on the Rams. And literally, I was down. I lost $135 on all these 20 positions for the year, which it's almost impossible to even do closer to even than being down 135, which is nothing.
Right.
Excluding, look, we can talk about it now if you want, the comeback player of the year, which I mean, literally, that took me a day or two to recover. I'm not kidding you. That was, hey, the mistake I made was I started out with Baker Mayfield, which I think I called that perfectly. But for some reason, I bet 2,700 on Baker on a 75-1 shot instead of my usual 1,000.
Right.
Why I did that, I kind of went crazy. When you look at reality, when you make decisions, like sometimes you do crazy stuff. And I did something crazy there. I really did.
So do you think then that's going to impact your approach heading into next season?
Oh, no. This season, this is the one dumb thing I did. And again, this is why people like me. The other dumb thing I did was I lost $3,000 on the college football championship game. And again, I say it once a month. I know very little about college football. Is not my thing. And now I look back at it. Why did I have $3,000 on the college football championship game? I had on first quarter, first half, stuff like that. I'm like, what am I doing? I mean, this is insanity. But when you see real bets, people do crazy stuff.
Yeah. So now, are you thinking about participating in any Survivor or other handicapping contests? Those seems to be growing in popularity, and I believe you've mentioned it a few times on your videos.
No doubt. About 2-3 weeks ago, more than a month ago, about a month ago, what happened was, if you listen to the sports gambling media, the Survivor contest in Vegas got a lot of publicity, and these guys were fighting for $9 million, and they were arguing over the chop. And I follow Mitch Moss on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
I don't watch VSiN, but I follow Mitch on Twitter, and he's a good follow because what he does is he highlights his show like in the middle of the day. He'll have his segments of his show. So there's usually one segment that I like. So I follow him on Twitter. And then they were talking about the Survivor like a month ago, like constantly, because there were legal issues of chopping. So yes, I'm going to give the Survivor a shot for sure. Because the reality is, picking point spread winners. I have my record right here. I was like 13-12. I'm looking right now. My exact record was 13-12. Which is, I lost a couple of my bets for a little bit, maybe 115. I lost like $1,000 betting on sides in the NFL. And, so maybe you have a good year, you make $5,000, big deal. What's wrong with being in a Survivor pool and picking up a couple million?
Right.
Right. You got to think big and you got to be big.
All right.
Yeah.
So what we're going to stick to $1,000 units, and we're going to enter some big competition. Sounds like you got a couple strategies you're looking to shake things up with next year.
Oh, no doubt. I'm planning on going to Bet Bash 4 in August.
Fantastic.
Oh, we'll see you there, bud.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's a minor problem. The problem with Survivor is, even though Circa is now in Illinois, you have to sign up in Vegas.
Right.
You can't just, there's a brick and mortar here in Waukegan, which is a half an hour north of Chicago. Come on, guy. Why can't I just sign up there and submit my picks there every week? No, you have to sign up in Vegas, and then I have to get a proxy. Luckily, because the Survivor, you're just given one pick. It's like $100 a month, which is nothing. So I have to get a proxy. You have to give them your picks, and then this person has to go over to Circa and say, "I'm putting picks in for GRP wins." So there's another randomness there too, but
yeah,
that's the way it goes. It's nuts.
But on the flip side of that, it gives us a reason, another excuse to go to Bet Bash.
Right.
So there's one.
Check.
So shout out that. And number 2, we highly recommend Winner's Circle Proxy.
Oh, sure.
Give our gal Erin a shout. She took care of us last year, and they were wonderful.
I'm glad you told me that, because here's what I'm doing. I don't want to have all my business in one proxy. Maybe that something goes wrong, you have an argument, so forth and so on. So I want to experience different things.
Oh.
So I'm going to have 10 entries, and I'm going to have 3 different proxies.
Wow.
All right. We'll give Winner's Circle a chance.
I'm going to take your recommendation. I'm going to do it for sure.
Yeah, fantastic. And I hope to run out into you while we're out there. We had a great experience signing up for the Survivor and trying it until we got knocked out in week 4.
It is definitely a pain to go out there for it, but once you're out there, it's super painless. Trust us.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Like I said, I'm going to combine it with Bet Bash. If I was still into the poker tournament thing, I'd go there during the World Series in June. I think you need 2 reasons. I'm not like, I think you kind of need 2 reasons to go out there, and I'm going to combine it with Bet Bash. So I got something going on.
Weird. Some of us need 0 reasons.
There you go. Which Bet Bash did you guys go to? Which one?
We have not. This will be our first. So we go out to Vegas.
Okay.
We went out to Vegas and we signed up for Circa Survivor, but we didn't attend Bet Bash. We were actually out there the weekend before.
Yeah, coincidentally.
Yeah.
There you go.
So
Yeah.
I was at Bet Bash 1, which was like 2.5, 3, was in New Jersey, right next to Manhattan. I literally flew out just for the day, Bet Bash 1. And then Bet Bash, which is the one I got asked. Yeah. So Bet Bash 2, they raised prices a little bit, whatever, yada, yada, yada. I was in my anti being negative everything. So Bet Bash 2, I snuck in and I was escorted out by security.
Did you fly out to Vegas for the purpose of sneaking in?
I flew out. Yes, I flew. Of course, I flew. I was in Vegas. I flew out just to hang out, maybe just to play a little poker. And I tried. It was about 1 p.m. on a Sunday. I remember it very well. And I was having lunch at the Circa hotel in the deli there. And I said, and I recognized the guy. And I'm like, where's it at? He says, oh, it's in the D on the 26th floor. I go, great, thanks for telling me. So half an hour later, I walk up there. I literally walk in. There's no one questions nothing. I was smart. I got a half an hour free. I just sat in the back of the room for half an hour, took a picture of the chili dogs. I'm listening to some people talk. And then there it is. Half an hour later, I sent Fats a DM and a statement like confirming that I'm in the room. Like, oh, Fats, I see you in the middle of the room. I'm to your left. Yeah. And he just snapped his neck and he saw me. He was chasing me around his little cart. I mean, you had to be there. You couldn't even believe it.
What?
This is totally something I would try to do.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
It's and it's a weird thing. I got a lot of publicity about it. And now, me and Fat, me and Fats now, we like each other. And Spanky, it was a year or two ago. The bottom line, Spanky, he respects my integrity. And yes, it was wrong what I did. But guess what? Like I said, there's no such thing as negative publicity. I got a lot of publicity out of that. And good, even like I said, even bad publicity is good. And before I got kicked out, that's the first time I met Jeffrey Benson. I said hello to him. Yeah. And Matt Metcalf used to run Circa. And I waved to a couple of people. And Derek Stevens knew me from a year before. I just, hey, Derek, how you doing? He didn't know. I said, how you doing? And then a half an hour later, when I told Real Fats, this is when he hated me. And he went nuts and he got security. He pointed me out.
Wow. So he actually,
it was unbelievable.
That's crazy. He's the one that actually got you thrown out.
100%. But again, I did send him a DM. I did antagonize him. I gave him one of those. Hey, Fats, I see you in your scooter. I'm 30 feet to your left. I'm really enjoying this. And he went nuts. I'm telling you had to be there to see it.
I love it.
That's good stuff. All right. We got to get back on topic here, George. NFL draft. I see you have Harrison, first non-QB, Drake May and Caleb Williams at number 1. Now you have Drake May at number 2, minus 155. Give us your breakdown. How are you getting to these particular wagers you're landing on?
Number 1, there's no formula. You kind of have to know the draft. So, for example, if you look at section, this is another reason why I love the notebooks. Like even for myself, I can make a mental note of what I did. So I'm looking right now at section 3 of my notebook. And on October 24, 25, I bet on Marvin Harrison Jr., 2000. He was minus 130 at DraftKings. Now, I believe I made 2 separate 1,000 bets. That's why I have 2 dates there. Not that it really matters. And it's like 130 is like an average of the 2 prices. So basically, I have Marvin Harrison Jr. for $2K at minus 130. Right now, he's like minus 450. I mean, I'm looking like a genius, So now if you say to me, what's the formula? How'd you know? Well, just like in life, it's like, how do you, why are you a poker player and you're not, doing whatever? Just, you kind of know. I just
intuition.
Perfectly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You got to have a feel in life. I mean, not everything's a formula. Everything's a math problem. So bottom line, I called this bet perfectly.
So with your NFL drafts, you're not betting into information you're obtaining from sources or anything along those lines?
No, the only information I have is that with the draft, you just have to read stuff. And believe me, when you read, I love mock drafts. They're all over the place. There's like a half dozen good ones. So if every mock draft I look at, Marvin Harrison Jr. is the first non-QB pick. Okay, I'll go with it. What the hell? I'm getting even money and I'll take it. I mean, if you want to call me a genius, you call me a genius. So that was it.
Do you
So
think
now, the next bets I have are Drake May and Khalib Williams on November 14th and December 6th.
you're not done, right? You're going to have more draft positions?
Well, the draft is in like 2 months and 2 weeks. I'm going to guess I'm going to have more draft positions. Correct. I mean, literally, the season ended 2 months ago, 2 days ago. And I'm just casually, I go to these web. I'm thinking, okay, maybe in a couple weeks, you go to these online sites. They got all this stuff on already. It's unbelievable. It's just nowhere.
Yeah.
It's crazy. You go to DraftKings, they have MVP already, Offensive Player of the Year. And of course, they don't have Comeback Player of the Year yet, but they've already got awards. You can't make this stuff up.
Okay, so this brings me into another question I have. Like when we get into your portfolio, you report, like even in your latest video, a plus $3,000 total value, which incorporates some of your unrealized gains, such as Harrison first non-QB, right? Essentially, you're like reporting your CLV in your overall portfolio value. At the end of the day, are you calculating those unrealized gains using sports books, or is that just your estimation, or where are you getting to those?
Correct. Well, first of all, obviously the reason why I accounted for the estimation is because I have some great open positions, which everyone wants to make themselves look good. Of course. Again, the Marvin Harrison position, I have 2,000 on this position. Of course, it will not be decided for 2 more months. So I think realistically, I got a 75, 80% chance of winning. So roughly that position is probably roughly a $1,500 winner at this moment. Is that an estimate? Of course. But I also think it's an accurate estimate of where I'm at right now. Now, you look at my LA Clippers bet, which I'm just a casual basketball fan. I made that bet. I'm looking on November 31. I bet $1,000. I got 11-1 that they end up as the number 1 seed. So right now I'm looking like a genius. They're you can make the argument the last 2 months, they've been the best team in the NBA. I mean, they're really playing well. So realistically, if this wins, my ticket is worth $12,000. In a fair estimate, right now it's worth about a third of that, about $4,000. So yes. So when you look at that plus 3,000 figure, it also assumes some real live at the moment valuations of some good positions. Whether or not you can say that's a stretch, I agree, I believe in my valuations, but then again, it's not facts of, these aren't hardline facts.
Right. Well, I understand from the perspective of you've got Marvin Harrison in at minus 130 and now it's sitting at minus 435. There's absolutely equity built in there. The only thing I kind of wonder is, when we go through your videos throughout the NFL year, when that's being incorporated in the same way, it's showing profit. But then when we get to the end of the year with the actual realized gains in NFL, it comes in at that negative number, but then the next set of futures just pop in there and we're still looking at an overall value of plus 3,000 without an accounting of, the NFL portion of that.
The figure of plus 3,000, to me, that includes all closed positions. For example, on the word portfolio, which has 2 meanings. Of my long bets of the year of my portfolio, I thoroughly admitted the Comeback Player of the Year cost me $8,700. I have it right there on my sheet. I didn't hide that figure at all. Yeah. But correct. As of today or yesterday, I'm up 3,000. That includes an unrealized profit of, like we said, the Marvin Harrison, I think is worth $1,500. The LA Clippers bet, if you go online right now and try to bet the Clippers to be top seed, maybe they're minus 300.
Right.
So definitely this position, in theory, has an unrealized profit into it as of this. Like I could sell this for that amount of money. So yes, the plus 3,000 is an estimate of some open positions that are not closed yet.
Okay.
So let's say, for example, in 2 months, I lose the Clippers bet. Bingo. So that's 3,000 because I'm assuming, let's say roughly, I think it's worth 3,000 or 4,000 right now. If the Clippers bet is worth 0, then that's going to come off my new bottom line figure in at the end of April. Whatever bottom line figure I give you is going to include the basketball bets and the draft bets because they'll all be closed. The only thing that will be open then, here's another great one I talked about, is my Belichick bet. I mean, I'm looking like an absolute genius. I got him at 7-1. I bet $500. I got 7-1 on DraftKings that he's not a coach on week 1. Guess what my equity on that is right now? It's like 99%. You can't blame me for wanting to look. My numbers look good. What
right. I'm not questioning at all the value. I was watching your video and it took me a while to understand what was happening in the video.
Right.
I guess is the point that I was trying to.
This is not how we do it, right?
I have to get I just have a basic Twitter account, and I'm limited to like a minute and a half on these videos.
Yeah.
I believe if I get a blue check, do I get more time? I believe.
I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know. We have a blue check and we still don't use it.
Right.
Like when I see the Dave Portnoy videos, he's got 5-minute video.
Sure.
I know there's a way to do it. I have to bring my game up for the next season.
All right. What I need, George, is an instructional video on how to interpret your notebook.
Like a key. Right. No, I love the thought process, though. I think, it's pretty soon on the horizon, this whole like peer-to-peer wagering system and marketplace. So I love the thought process on like trying to take a stab at calculating the equity in your bets, because that's going to come sooner than later, where you're going to be able to sell these positions or offer outs to other peers on all this stuff. So I think it's a really interesting thought process.
Well, on that note, then there's the other, when you had your bet, if you got something like, let's say, for example, the survivor pool, if I'm at the end with 5 guys and first place is 10 million, I'm hedging for sure.
Absolutely.
Hey, everyone take out $1 million, give me that, and we fight for 5. But when you're hedging for something that's $8,000, okay, sure, $8,000. But anytime you hedge, don't forget you're going to pay juice. You're going to lose 5%.
Exactly.
So when does it end? And on Twitter, everyone's got an opinion. You should hedge. You should end that. So that's a personal choice, and everyone's got a value of money. And when does it end?
Right.
Do you bet on basketball regularly? Like, are we going to see videos about basketball once the draft is over?
No. Well, first of all, basically, no. I'm an NFL guy.
Gotcha.
98% NFL. But you know what? Here I am. I put a couple of these basketball bets in, and Clippers, I'm looking great. Lakers, I'm looking about even.
Yeah.
I just need them to get in the playoffs, and if they have to go to the finals, win the West after the playoffs. I'm getting 10-1. It's a negative equity bet right now, but still, I got a shot.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the Clippers, I look great. They're just, let's be honest, the last 2 months, they're the best team in the league.
Well, I'm a Celtics fan, so.
Yeah, but you know what? When Jordan was playing, I would watch everything NBA 20 years ago. Believe me, the way these guys do this load management, I watch nothing. And the playoffs is decent, but this regular season's that's a complete joke. It really is.
It's a drag. All right, I'm good on gambling.
They don't play defense. It's all 3-pointers. It's outrageous.
Right. It's a different game for sure.
He's right.
Yeah, totally.
All right, George, last question. We're going to let you get out of here. What is the best greasy fast food in Chicago?
Wow. Well, you said greasy. That's kind of a weird word.
I'll go anything you want to tell me, bud.
Well, I wouldn't call. I'm just curious now. Do you have a Portillo? You have a Portillo's there? You have a couple of them?
Oh, yeah. We got Portillo's.
Yeah, we have a Portillo's now.
Yeah. I wouldn't call I'll tell you a secret. The best thing at Portillo's is the Maxwell Street Polish. If you ever go there, it's phenomenal. It's just got mustard and onions. It's like a big sausage because there's a bunch of average stuff there. Boy, greasy. You know what? I just had a gyros from a good Greek restaurant. It's not a greasy joint at all. This place is really good, and I go there like twice a month. And a good gyros made from scratch in the whole country is very hard to find. And I got a place I go, and I had lunch there today. You know what? Greasy. I don't know if I go there. I can't think of a. There's probably someone the bad neighborhood, the bad parts of town, but I don't go there.
Where can we get this gyro?
Right. Tell us the name.
The near it's 5 miles northeast of O'Hare. It's in the name of the place is Pistaria, Pistaria. It's in Lincoln Woods, which is 20 minutes northeast of O'Hare.
All right. So in a week, when we go to Chicago to watch the Celtics play,
we're getting some gyros. Some gyros.
Yeah. But then again, if you're going to go to the United Center.
Yeah.
Then you know what? You can go to Greek Islands. Everyone goes there before the game.
Okay.
Exactly 2 miles, halfway between downtown and the United Center. And the valet parking there is the best. You literally pull up, the guy takes your keys because parking's an issue.
Yeah.
And the valet parking. So go to Greek Islands downtown. You'll be happy there.
Fantastic.
Well, George, I'm a man of simple pleasures. Al's Italian Beef right there. I don't even know if it's still there out in Rosemont. That was always my go-to.
It's no longer here. No. There used to be a Mr. Beef and Pizza on Higgins in Cumberland. Did you remember that?
Yes.
Okay, no, that hasn't been. That was gone.
Also
5 years ago, but yeah. Oh, you know what? It became an Al's. That's right.
Oh, okay.
About 10 years ago, they became an Al's, and it was there for about 5 years. Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't been back up in that area since the pandemic, but that used to be regular stomping grounds for me over by O'Hare.
I think we're going to have to go play some cards with George over at the Rivers someday.
Maybe we hit up Rivers before we go to that game.
Yeah, maybe we do.
All right. All right. You can find all of George's entertaining content on Twitter at GRPWins. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today, George. Good juju to your bets, and let's talk again sometime.
Guys, it was great. I enjoyed it. And if you want to meet for a drink and play a little PLO Rivers in a couple weeks, just send me a DM. Let me know.
All right. We'll take you up on that. Have a good one.
Yeah. Thanks, George. Appreciate it.
Thanks, George.
All right, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Are we done?